When I was in 5th grade, my life took a very unexpected turn. My parents and I moved from Latvia, Riga, where I've pretty much lived my entire life, and moved to the Democratic Republic of Congo, Kinshasa. That's quite a change for an 11-year-old. Let me give you a little background information so it all makes a little more sense. In the early 2000s, my dad was a customs consultant in such countries as Kosovo, India, Kuwait, Iraq, and Afghanistan. He'd worked there for months at a time, while the rest of my family and I lived in Latvia. But in 2008, when my dad got a job offer that would take much longer than a few months, he was given an opportunity to take his family with him. So he did. One tiny detail, we'd have to move to DRC for 5 years. Yeah. I was excited. Well, intrigued is a much more fitting term. To be honest, I had no idea what we were getting ourselves into. Not that I had to say. I remember the air being so warm, even at the dead of night. That was a huge change in itself. We lived in a gated community where a lot of my dad's colleagues and their families lived as well. We each had a car with a chauffeur. The weather was always either hot or very hot. Everything was just different, nothing I was used to. Slowly we settled down, mingled with the other neighbors. I went to school, made friends. We got to know each other, attended multiple birthday parties, partied on New Year's Eve. A lot of time was spent there. But now all of it just seems like one big blur. However, one instance has stayed in my mind very vividly. I was in the car with my mom on our way home from the grocery store. It was getting late, so the sun was already setting. We were just taking off when suddenly somebody jiggled one of the car door handles from outside, pretty roughly and loudly. It was a couple of boys around my age, or even younger, trying to open the car's back door where all the groceries were kept. I'm sure you can connect the dots yourself. That was just a thing. You'd have to keep the car doors locked during any car ride, during traffic jams where many would stroll past endless lines of cars, either begging or trying to sell something in the evenings for safety purposes. Back then, I didn't think much of it. I didn't keep up with politics, social issues, or whatever was happening in the world that didn't involve the Disney Channel or the Twilight books. Outside those compound and private school walls, there was a much bigger picture, one that my 11-year-old brain couldn't comprehend. But I had some understanding that the place where we were wasn't necessarily the safest or the wealthiest, since almost all my time was spent either in school or at home, swimming or riding my bike up and down the same hills over and over and over again. Then suddenly, for reasons that are far too complicated to explain, we moved back home. Our 5-year plan was abruptly cut short to just 1.5 years. To be honest, I was relieved. Don't get me wrong, I do have good memories from those times. I even got to experience what trick-or-treating actually is like. That's a win right there. But with time, it just all started falling apart for me. The main reason was school. Studying was difficult for me. Suddenly, I was taking all of my classes in a different language than the one I was used to. The rules were different, the attitude there was different. I'd fake being sick because I just wanted to sit at home all day. Of course, staying at home was even more uneventful. Staring at the same walls day by day, not being able to just go to the mall or the cinema or even explore the city. Yes, I know those all sound like first world problems, but what do you expect from a teen? Now, when I look back at that part of my life, I wish I was at least a couple of years older. I'm fairly certain that way I would have appreciated that experience a lot more. As a young teen, I didn't really care about what an opportunity it was. To be in a whole other country where the culture, the people, even the weather is the complete opposite of what I'd known my whole life. Maybe it was homesickness. Maybe all those changes were far too much to take. But now that I'm older and could just get up and move to a whole other country, sort of like I did back then, would I do it? Maybe.